Funimation sucks cock. There, I said it. So Funimation is a pretty infamous company in the anime scene. They handle the translations and dubs for various shows, such as High School of the Dead or Black Lagoon. Now back in the day, Funimation wasn't that bad. The dubs weren't great, to put it bluntly. There's only really 3 good anime dubs in existence, but they did do their job. Well, when the woke trend began, Funimation decided to try their hand at it and absolutely butchered scripts to shove in autistic Western politics. Dragon Maid suddenly referenced the patriarchy, and Prison School took a shot at Gamergate. Hell, some dubs were just bad. Berserk 2016 screwed over the English cast of the 90s anime and the movie trilogy, all to shove in jobbers nobody knows, and even somehow fucked up the script. Like, Farnese and Serpico being siblings isn't a secret anymore, despite that being a thing that Serpico kept to himself and never told Farnese about, which is made apparent when she directly tried to have sex with him. It's like the translators wanted to turn them into Cersei and Jaime Lannister, despite that not being Berserk. Pretty shit to take somebody else's work to then stitch in your own feeble attempts at relevancy. You're a middleman, Funimation. Nobody gives a fuck about you or your employees. Get used to it. But you get the idea. Funimation is a shit show, and they seem to only be getting worse. They want to be seen as moralistic representatives of anime, yet the DBZ cast showed how nasty and petty the whole crowd seems to be. It's a bunch of 30 to 40-year-olds acting like they're still in high school, that they're the cool kids. Meanwhile, they continue to do shit jobs and fail as actors. Anime dubs, in my opinion, are pretty much always unwatchable. They always feel forced, and barely any of them sound natural. There are exceptions, yes. So before anyone decides to type Cowboy Bebop in the comments, yes, the dub to Cowboy Bebop is really good. And Black Lagoons is pretty good, along with Hellsing Ultimates, and the Berserk movie trilogy has a really good dub as well.
Who the hell are you?
Heed my words, struggler. Soon a rain of blood, the likes of which you cannot imagine, shall fall down upon you. It will be a storm of death. But take heed, struggler. Struggle, endure, contend. For that alone is the sword of one who defies death. Do not forget these words.
But the vast majority simply don't adapt well, and Funimation is pretty guilty of perpetuating this. Since everybody involved are all friends with each other and don't really take it that seriously, they never strive to improve. They just go through the motions and move on with their day. You only really hear the same 12 people again and again. It just gets exhausting. But let's move on to the topic at hand. Funimation recently canceled the dub for one of the new animes they were translating. Despite this being an absolute positive in my opinion, people wanted to know what happened. Well, as it turns out, the anime they were working on was Interspecies Reviewers. Basic rundown of the show goes as follows. A guy and his friend live in a fantasy world. Their job is to go around brothels and have sex with prostitutes of various species. They then review the brothel, the girl, and the sex, and post a critique at a bar they frequent. So yeah, pretty obvious what this show is. It's a mindless fan service filled extravaganza. Hell, when you get to episode 3, it straight up turns into hentai. Now, I actually understand why Funimation stopped dubbing it. This was blatantly a softcore porno, and Funimation probably didn't want something like that attached to their resume. If they simply canceled it, never said a word, and let it all blow over, that would be it. But they didn't do that. Instead, they put out a statement saying Interspecies Reviewers didn't meet their standards, and that they didn't feel like they could alter it enough to meet them. Yes, Funimation confirmed they changed scripts when they felt like it, because they have standards. Instead of simply dropping the matter, they only made it worse. Because the most humiliating aspect out of all of this wasn't even that Funimation seemingly licensed a softcore hentai. It was that they were 3 episodes in when they found out what it was.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Motherfucker, did you not watch the show before you dubbed it? How did you not know the concept? How did you not realize anything about this seemed a little lewd? I'm not even going to say that Funimation has dubbed worse, like Prison School, or High School of the Dead, or Berserk, or Valkyrie Drive. The point is that Interspecies Reviewers, even considering all of the above, is pretty explicit. Am I knocking the show, saying it shouldn't exist? Not at all. It has an audience, and the right to exist. It's not something I watch personally, unless it's a Friday night, I have a bottle of lotion and the existential dread sinks in. But I'm not about to get all sanctimonious, considering half the shit I like. You ever watch Genocyber? Anyway, what drives me nuts about Funimation and this situation is the utterly solemn tone they took. Instead of simply acknowledging that they bit off more than they could chew, they tried to throw the anime itself under the bus. It didn't meet our standards. We can't alter it enough, as though Funimation is some kind of fucking seal of approval, instead of being the pathetic groupie desperate to be seen as someone worth recognizing. We already know now that you can't make the effort to research a show before you start translating. So how the fuck can you expect to actually be a pillar to the medium? Shit like this is why anime is one of the most pirated things in existence, because Japan simply doesn't really care about the Western market. Yeah, that whole idea that the West is making up half of the profits for anime and manga, it's not really that true. It's shit Crunchyroll and Funimation keep saying to justify their existence. By the way, Crunchyroll can get fucked with a scorpion too. They're just as bad as Funimation, they're just smart enough not to shove it in your face all the time. Interspecies Reviewer is the type of anime that really shows who exactly works at Funimation. They never bothered to look into the show, and were surprised when it bit them in the ass. Now instead of simply taking the L and admitting they screwed up, they want to blame the show. Once again, this is going off the interpretation that Funimation shouldn't dub anime period, since the company sucks, and 99% of their dubs suck. If they decided to keep going with the show, and said fuck off to any complainers, that would actually be pretty respectable, I'm not gonna lie. They decide to give this little ecchi show a shot in the West. By golly, that could have been heartwarming, but they didn't, and they fucked up the explanation behind why. It showed that they have an inflated ego towards the properties they touch, as though Funimation owns it, and not the studios that animate them, or the manga author that created the property in the first place. This is a growing trend among translators, where they seem to think they could pass themselves off as the pseudo-creator of what they're working on. Usually, this is hidden under the guise of localization, where we're all too stupid to understand Japan-specific references or tropes, so they must be removed and replaced with writing so dog shit you would think it comes straight out of a Tumblr webcomic. Yeah, anybody that was around when Fire Emblem Fates was coming out, you know exactly what I mean. This form of condescension drives me crazy. Oh, you wouldn't get this part, it's super Japanese. Let me just replace this with a reference to burgers or something. The Kotaku articles that came out when Persona 5 released are the reason I have high blood pressure and several malignant brain tumors, because apparently nobody in America knows that shogi exists. Just replace this question with chess, despite it being an entirely different game. It's a rabbit hole of utter frustration, one I never care for and I refuse to listen to excuses about. Shockingly, when I watch something made in a different country and with a completely different culture, I kinda want to see what that culture is. But that's why I'm actually happy to see Funimation cancel this dub, because personally, I'm just happy to see that's one less anime they can touch. If you like this series and want to support it, don't give money to a company that doesn't actually care about it. Buy the merchandise, or the manga, import the DVDs when they come out. Avoid companies like Crunchyroll and Funimation like the plague. That's all I can say about Funimation and the interspecies reviewer shit. It's a dumbass company that didn't do its research, so now anyone other than them must be to blame. This isn't the first mistake Funimation has made, and there's no way on earth it will be the last. I didn't really have much to talk about with this subject, because it's a pretty small story, but one that is absolutely frustrating, since it's another attempt to manipulate anime and turn it into something it just isn't. You already have the Death Note author making chapters about Trump. That should have been the biggest sign that leftist Western politics don't fit in Japan. But until next time, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys.
I'm going to jail. You understand? I'm going to prison.